Greetings, everybody. Good evening. We are back for another fantastic episode of the show D Live, the Convo series. It's kind of taking on a life of its own these days. So we're getting a lot of good feedback. People really seem to appreciate hearing the backstory. What's going on? Where did this individual come from? Whether it be great Cincinnatians, people active in our neighborhoods, or our great Democratic candidates that we have running for office, like we have tonight with Jill Schiller, and I'll introduce Jill officially here in just a moment. So I'd like to give everybody a few seconds to come on. If you do have any questions, comments, please drop those in the comments. I will keep an eye on those. And we'd love to get your feedback. Love to hear what everybody has to say, and we'll stay connected like that. So Jill, thanks for joining me this evening. We've got some people jumping on to join us now, which is awesome. And thank you for being here. Excited.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited too.
Awesome, awesome. So let's just kick it off. You know, normally what we do is we just want to learn more about you. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to be here. I want to touch on your race for your first race that you had, which was an amazing campaign. It just came up a little bit short under very challenging circumstances. We know how tough it is to run in such a gerrymandered district as a second congressional district for Congress. We'll touch on that, and then we'll bring it up to present day and what's going on with this race for county treasurer, and we'll learn a little bit more about what the treasurer's office does and your plans for it. So with all that being said, Jill Schiller, everybody. Jill, thank you, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am originally from Philly. I grew up in the northeast section of Philly, so I like to say think west side. It's blue collar, lots of union folks. My dad worked for the city in the water department, so he was a union worker. Lived there. Philly's a lot like Cincinnati. If you're from there, you're from there. You don't tend to leave. You ask people what parish they grew up in. So I was there until my 30s when I moved with my husband down to D.C. because I got a job in the Obama administration. I had gone to law school, practiced for a while, opened a nonprofit that specialized in children's literacy and creative writing in Philly. And then this opportunity came to work at OMB for President Obama, and I didn't really think twice, we just headed down. And it was just an amazing and really formative experience, to just be with these people who could be doing anything else but choose to serve in that way. And I say that I think this is true of every White House except the current one. Whether I agree with their policies or not, up until this current administration, I think it's very easy to say that you've got the people there for the right reasons, doing what they think is the right thing. And I just really love that spirit, And then my husband got a job at Omnicare in downtown Cincinnati, so we moved here in 2011, so 9 years ago. I was pregnant with my daughter, so good timing, getting out of D.C., and settled into downtown Cincinnati Incorporated, which is sadly no longer, but we were in charge of the central business district, kind of providing services that weren't provided by the city, a little extra, funded by a special assessment. It really was such a great way to get to meet a ton of people right off the bat in Cincinnati. I think I probably did about 3 years of networking in 6 months, and it needed a lot easier to transition in. I took some time off to have my second child and stay home for a while. And then I started a consulting group, mostly worked with the Museum Center, nonprofit stuff, communication strategy, management work. And then I decided to run for Congress.
That's a big step, but really everything that you were doing was preparing for that. So tell me, just in your thought process, you could be a big-wig, high-powered attorney making the big bucks, right? And at some point you transitioned, or you had a calling for public service in the nonprofit world. What led you down that path? What makes you passionate about just helping people and serving the public that way?
Well, I think that I just had it, from a young age. I didn't grow up with a lot. My mom has chronic illness, she has lupus, and so I think I just always was aware of the fact that people needed more help than we were getting. And certainly you can do a lot to help people as an attorney, but I really felt like I do more in a more direct sense.
Right.
So nonprofit, government work, it just seemed to me that I could have a better, stronger effect on people's lives that way.
No, that's awesome. So when you moved to Cincinnati, tell me about that, because I'm originally not from Cincinnati. Been here a long time. It's my adopted home. I've been down here in over the Rhine, 10 years now, a little bit before you moved in 2011. And of course, we've seen a lot of changes in those times in Cincinnati. But I tell people, if you come here, whether it be for work or young people come here to go to Xavier or UC, be careful, because if you don't want to stick around, Cincinnati gets into your blood, and there's just something about it that is, it just kind of like a moth to a flame. It pulls you back. And for obviously, people that grew up here, it's just always home. So what was it really about Cincinnati that, that really kind of hooked for you in that way? Because it sounds like you all could have probably landed anywhere in the country at some point, but now you've chosen to put down roots here and running for office and all of that.
Right. I mean, I think it's the people. It's such an open place. And I think what's funny is that Cincinnati has a pretty down vision of the reputation that way. They say, oh, it's hard to meet people, it's hard to make friends, it's hard to make connections. I found the opposite to be true. I found this to be a really warm and open city, and I love the size. Again, Philly is a much bigger city, but it's a city of neighborhoods, and so for me, it just really felt like home. And just, getting into the easy living of the smaller city has everything you want.
Right.
But without all the hassles of a really big city. I love that too. So first people, and second just, it's not great restaurant. Like you said, we've seen so many changes. We moved here 3 months before the banks opened. And so it's pretty much been just watching this whole thing explode and grow with its, obvious growing pains as well. It's been an amazing ride to watch just every scene explode the way it has.
Right. And so that's, that similar. I think we're very aligned on that. One of the great things about a city like Cincinnati is it's a big, it's a big city. This is a major league city. I think sometimes part of our challenge is, along with thinking that we're not welcome here, I think when we can be, is that the fact that it's a small, big city allows folks that, aren't necessarily, the wealthiest or have the family name. And of course, if you have all that, I guess that's great. That gives you a head start. But you have the opportunity here, as you see people that get engaged, and especially those from the grassroots level. I will put myself in that category, or somebody like a great example is like a Cam Hardy, to where this is a city that that would be a lot more challenging doing those things in the bigger city, in a New York or Chicago, Atlanta, even Philadelphia, whatever it may be. But in a place like Cincinnati, you have the opportunity, we pick up the phone and probably get a council member on the line if we really wanted to. And you have that opportunity here. You can make a difference. You can really move the needle and get engaged in a real way. Do you agree with that, or am I off base on that?
No, I think 100% that's right. Because of the openness, because everybody's really interested in making things better right now. And as you said, because it's a little smaller, you can kind of come in with your own ideas and quickly find your own lane.
Right.
In a way that there might be 70 people in your way,
right,
in a bigger city. And it's not that they have the same idea. They don't have the idea, but you just can't get to where you need to get your idea to make it reality.
No, it's a
100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's just a place where if you choose to get engaged and you choose to put in the work, I think you can make a real impact here, and that's pretty cool in my book. So kind of bring us up forward then. At some point, you did, tell me about that thought process, because you ran for Congress right after I was coming off my first time campaign for city council, and both of us, we were all in on it. Left it all in the field. How did that thought process come up? Were you prepared for it? What was, and you're not just in Cincinnati, you're going, way out 7 counties away down along the river. What was that experience like for you?
The whole experience was amazing. It was awesome. The thought process was probably not the deliberative process that you would think it would be. It was actually right after the local elections. You know, so I knew a bunch of guys running, so I was really invested in the council elections and started turning my mind toward the midterms and wanted to know who was running against Muncha. And I did a little research, and I saw the people that were out there with just the right ideas and a lot of heart, and just I just didn't see a campaign that I thought could take it to in a really serious way. And when I did a little more research, I realized it was never been seriously challenged, and that just seemed wrong. And so, you know, I started having meetings, because like you said, it's much easier to get in front of the right people here and start talking with people. And I think half of me expected that after having meetings, they would say, okay, well, so-and-so has decided to step up and do this.
Right.
Then all of a sudden it was January, and they're like, no, we're doing this. Which I liken it to starting the nonprofit, my nonprofit self.
Right.
You do it because you don't know what you're getting into, and so you just keep moving.
Yeah, it's probably good that you don't overthink it at the beginning, or nobody tells you exactly how crazy it is, or you might not do it. But you just get in and then sink or swim at that point. So, what did you think? Like, what was like a couple of great things, one or two, and maybe like something that is just like, you know, it was just really challenging.
Great things. Getting to learn so much about Southern Ohio outside of Southwest Ohio. So, pardon me.
It's all right. We're live here, folks. This is live and unfiltered. So you get the dog. Josie might make an appearance. My cat at some point. It's all good.
Kid or two popping in here. Who knows? Yeah, so like Chillicothe. You know, it's an amazing town. It's got a great restaurant scene. You're driving through cornfields and you get there and it's this like really great, really well developed urban area in the middle of nowhere. Portsmouth.
Yeah.
You know, I think people always talk about the negatives there, which there's a lot of. I mean, you know, they still need a lot of help. There's still a terrible opioid addiction problem. There's a jobs issue. There's, you know, everything that goes hand in hand with that. But at the same time, there too, they've got these pockets of progress that are being made, and I think it was really just eye-opening to see how, you know, it's just always nice to see people digging in to their hometowns and really trying to make it the way that they want it to be. So getting out there, meeting the folks from out east was fantastic. Things that were meh.
I mean, fundraising, like call time, right? Yeah. So how was that? So, you know, I mean, if you never run for office before, I mean, the sad part is that it takes like those yard signs and those commercials and your staff, like that doesn't pay for itself, right? And so literally it's all the fundraising is calling people that you don't know on the phone, asking for money. And if you're not, you've never experienced that, some people have a knack for it, but for most people, like it's not the most comfortable thing.
Yeah, it took a while for me to feel comfortable with it. I think, you know, the first 2 or 3 months, I felt really like I took it personally. And so I felt like embarrassed about asking, and I felt that I shouldn't be doing. And then all of a sudden, a switch flipped, and I realized, you know, I wasn't asking people to pay my mortgage or to send me on vacation. This is kind of another way for people to join in and volunteer and contribute. And I'll be honest, it was one of the, I mean, I hated doing it. Nobody likes doing calls. Some people like it. I don't love doing call time.
Right.
But it also was something I became really proud of because I wasn't a politician. These weren't people I had relationships with, and I managed to raise over $600,000 in 10 months. You know, coming from zero. And,
right.
Well, obviously, in the scheme of congressional races, it's still on the lower side. Given the history of the district, what a gerrymandered place it was, I think that we really did a lot of good work there in terms of the fundraising, you know, closing the vote total by 16 points and all that.
Yep. No, and that's amazing right there. And what a lot of folks don't realize, and I think why we should support, not only just on principle. For example, I had Jamie Castle on, who's now running in this cycle in the 2nd Congressional District, and she's killing it over there, which is awesome. But, you know, sometimes, especially until we get things totally ungerrymandered, you know, it's a process. It takes time. And then the other thing I would say to like most Dems that say, well, you know, why would I give money to a race that's going to be really challenging, might not be able to win it because it's so gerrymandered. The other thing it does, the fact that we're now for a while in some races, you know, especially like our judicial candidates in Hamilton County, you're not fielding candidates in these races. The fact that you have an operation is helping up and down the ticket in getting people engaged and driving turnout. So even if you can close that gap, you're helping others as well. And so that's what a lot of people don't realize, that it's important that like we run somebody in every single race from, you know, top to bottom, no matter how challenging it may be, because if nobody runs, you get 0 votes, or, you know, yeah, you get 0 votes. If somebody's running a campaign there and making the pitch, you know, maybe you don't win, but you do pretty good, and it drives this turnout that helps, you know, up and down the ticket. So there's benefit in supporting these to the degree that we can, even if you think it's gerrymandered, going to be tough to win. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's exactly it. I mean, you look at the 2nd district in particular, and Schiller didn't carry the 2nd district, as I recall. It was one of the very few that he did not win in. And so, but I think that our campaign being there, we fielded not just a big field operation here in Hamilton County, but we actually had a pretty sizable operation out in the Chillicothe Portsmouth area, because we wanted to hit our major urban centers. And I think that, you know, the work that we did helped supplement his campaign, helped supplement Rich Porter's campaign. I mean, like, while not all of us were successful, you know, you look at, there were more than 2 million people who voted for Rich Porter, and in any other year, that would have been enough.
Right.
And so, yeah, exactly. Like, the same way that now I'm totally opposite of it, the very bottom of the ticket. I mean, I'm the last.
Well, we're going to talk about that in here in just a second. We're going to turn it upside down and put treasure at the top.
Right? But yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think that the work that we do is obviously going to support the people above us. And this year, I'm, you know, because it's a lower ballot race, I'm going to benefit a lot by the work that people put in for Jamie, for Kate, obviously, for Joe Biden. And so whatever I can do to support that, I will. But I'm also going to be very thankful for the support I get coming the other way.
Sure. And that's actually one of the suggestions, because, you know, I worked on the 2018 coordinated judicial campaign. And one of the suggestions that was made along the way, I forget who, it wasn't my idea, somebody else had it, but talking about, you know, start at the back of your ballot. This time, I think it's 3 pages, if I'm not mistaken this time, perhaps. So, you know, obviously most people are going to vote in the presidential race, and then we get down to the judicials and some other stuff, and it tends to fall off. We know the numbers fall off. So actually, you could do this, like start at the back on the bottom and work your way up the ballot. And go.
Flip it to fill it.
Yeah, flip it to fill it. I love it. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about this treasurer's race. And tell us a little bit more. First of all, we'll get into the campaign stuff because we're in the weeds a little bit, but you and I love this stuff. Tell us about the office. We know treasurer, I hear county treasurer probably has something to do with money, but tell us about what role does a treasurer really play, and why is that important? You know, why is that office important for us?
Great. Yeah, so it does have to do with money. I think what most people associate the treasurer's office with is we collect property taxes, and that is the basic function. But there's a lot more that the office can do, and there's a lot involved in how and when you collect property taxes as well. So, for instance, right now, right, we're in the middle of the global pandemic, we're in the middle of an unprecedented economic crisis. You've got homeowners who are unable to pay their taxes. And so having somebody in the office that is kind of very proactive about reaching out to those folks and making sure that we exhaust every option before they lose their home, you know, payment plans and things like that. I think that's really important, you know, to have somebody that cares.
Has that been done in the past? Would that be a new, I've never heard of that happening. That's why I asked. Like, I just write the check and it goes to the treasurer, and there's never any feedback. Like most people don't even know who it is and what it does. The check just goes, and then I don't know what happens. But you're saying they could do more. They could be proactive. They're not just hanging out collecting a paycheck, and that's it.
And there's actually a flip side of that as well, which is so people who need help, who need to make sure that they're getting it. There's also a class of deadbeat landlords or property owners who, will pay a couple of times, then go delinquent, and then get on one of these payment plans because they were delinquent, and wash and repeat. So pay a couple more and get back in line. So we need to make sure, especially now when we need every cent that we can get coming from taxes, that the people who can pay are paying, and the people who can't pay, again, we have to collect the tax at some point, but we're going to make sure that we give everybody in the fair shake that we can in terms of making sure that we're keeping people in their homes.
Well, I think that's fantastic and speaks to, kind of the housing crisis that we have. And I love to hear you say that, talking about keeping people in their homes, working with them, and being proactive in that way is what you're saying. That if we could get them on a payment plan or something else, it's a manageable thing rather than just throwing them to the wolves and that's it. Sorry about your luck. That there are opportunities there to work with people.
Yeah. And then another thing that the treasurer does, which people are not very aware of, is the treasurer sits on the board of the land bank with the Port Authority. So the land bank is an entity that's created to allow us to take control of vacant, blighted properties in a much faster way than through normal processes. And it can make a huge difference for a block or for a neighborhood. If you've got a fairly stable block with an abandoned house that's fallen down, the court can come in, get title to it. Again, it's vacant, it's just sitting there, and decide to either tear it down and sell the lot, or rehab it and sell the house. And actually, my son just finished preschool at John B. Parker in Madisonville, and his principal there purchased her home through the land bank and enjoyed the whole thing so much that she held a seminar for teachers at the school to encourage them to also buy homes in Madisonville where they're teaching through the land bank.
That's
and
awesome.
I thought that was such a great example of community development in action.
Mm-hmm.
The idea to be able to be a part of that and be making sure that as a board member we are obviously working with the court to work with the communities and community councils to get the desired impact they want in their neighborhood.
No, that's fantastic, and that's something a lot of folks don't know about the land bank. I've had some experience with it. I've fixed up some houses in Price Hill and been involved in neighborhood stuff up there, and we know how, especially the west side of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, suffered greatly from the 2008 crash. And you were talking about deadbeat landlords. We've got these like real estate investment trusts that swooped in and bought up houses, and others just sat in foreclosure forever. And then these, and people are talking about financial stuff, but like this really impacts people in neighborhoods. If that's a house next to me and there's drug dealing or prostitution going on or other kind of nonsense in this vacant house, to have an outfit like the county land bank that could come in, at least secure the house, keep the grass mowed, stabilize it, and that helps stabilize the neighborhood. And then they actually go through a process where those homes are listed then for sale, and they have a vetting process where good, whether it be developers or individuals, can come in and perhaps rehab it, and then they also end up rehabbing a couple of houses a year. So it's great, and I think there's more that we could do. Especially helping to facilitate getting those properties into good hands so that they can be, because now we see the prices are going like this and there's not enough housing, and we've got vacant housing that needs to be fixed up. So, how can we facilitate that and making that happen? I think that's great. So I don't know if you have any more ideas around that, but that's something I'm personally very interested in. So I did not realize that the treasurer sat on that board.
Yeah. And so that to me is huge. I have a big, long-time interest in urban development, and I think that what I love about it is it also offers a way to keep legacy neighbors in these gentrified neighborhoods. It's important to keep a balance. You don't want to see everyone who live in the neighborhood gone because they can't afford the taxes or the rents.
Right.
And obviously, as treasurer, I don't have a lot of control over rental rates, but we can make sure that if you own your house, we do what we can to keep this balance and really help. There's a lot of ways I think to get figure about the balance in neighborhoods and really keep making their original flavor and their history and keeping people in their homes.
Oh, I love it. You're talking my game here. So this is good stuff. So you're talking a little bit about what the office does, some improvements that can be made. I'm sure, and here's what we've seen, like in county government in Hamilton County, where it's been ruled by the Republicans for, in large measure. Now this is changing, right? Especially at the courthouse. We have 3 Democratic females, 2 African American on our county commission right now, which is amazing, and so we want to see more of that. It's just you just as John Q. citizen, you're looking at the kind of the lay of the land, and it's like, I run, I get elected, I don't even really have to run, I just put my name on the ballot, I run, and everybody's kind of fat and happy. I'll hire all my friends, neighbors, family members, nepotism, kind of all ingrown like that. And so stuff's antiquated. You look at websites, it's antiquated. And we've seen somebody like, for example, AFTAB coming in and just, getting everything up into like the 21st century, and really modernizing things and just, putting some energy behind it, where it's just so much, it's just like inbred and just not good.
Yeah,
no, that's it.
Customer service problem right now at the office. I've heard from a number of people who are like, "Hey, I need to call the customer's office. I don't know that somebody's going to pick up the phone." And so, while it's certainly not sexy or fun, that's one of the first places we're going to start. We're going to make sure that the people who are there understand that they're there to serve the people of Hamilton County, and that means taking up the phone and answering questions. It means figuring out innovative ways to make it easier for people to pay. You can pay with electronic check. Let's make sure that is easily available and more people know about it. Credit cards always have fees, but maybe we can introduce more than just the Discover card for that. Let's get this money the way that, let's get this money from folks who owe it in a way that makes it easy for them to do it. And I think that it's the most basic function of the office. And then in terms of, making sure that we have people making a living wage and making sure that we're not wasting our budget. And that's another thing. I fully intend to have every county office's budget online, so that you guys as taxpayers, so that we as taxpayers can see where our money is going and how it's being spent. It's time to break down some silos. It's time to bring a little sunlight to these processes. And I think all of these are things that would be an improvement over the treasurer who has sat in this office for 30-some years, almost 30 years, and there's not been a Democrat in the seat in over 7 years, and there's never been a woman treasurer.
Well, there you go. I love it. And I'd have to think that there's probably going to be some diversity in the office. And, in these situations, I think it's good when, people don't come in and just say, okay, everybody's fired and I'm going to bring all my friends and neighbors in now. But that you look at that and say, I had Fanon Rucker on running for prosecutor. He's like, there's like 3 African-American employees in the entire county prosecutor's office. I don't know what out of 200 some employees, that's crazy these days, especially in an urban county like Hamilton County, that's not diverse at all. So I don't know what the makeup is of the treasurer's office, but I would assume that that's something that you're going to look at as well.
Yeah, it's so important for the office to represent, to look like the county represents, right? So we need diversity in gender and race and on all levels. We need to make sure that we're being as inclusive in our hiring practices as possible. And that's something that I definitely consider at.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the campaign, and then we want to pitch everybody how to get involved. And by the way, we had Crystal Dandridge stop by. Crystal's everywhere. I don't know how she keeps track of everything that's going on everywhere. But Crystal stopped by, said, great info, Jill. Thank you for sharing. Go, Jill. Love that. By the way, if anybody does have a question or comment, feel free to drop it, and I will ask Jill whatever your question is. But from a campaign perspective, what does a county treasurer, Hamilton County treasurer campaign look like? We know everything's weird with times of COVID. You can't go out to events and meet a bunch of people and stuff. How has this looked for you?
So it's been a lot of this, which is great. It's so good. Thank God we have this technology to connect outside of this, because I think it would be awful to really not to be lacking that and being worried and all of that. It's hard. It's really hard to get your message out there. And it's been hard to fundraise, obviously, as a down ballot race in a presidential year. And I agree. I mean, look, getting Trump out is the #1 priority. I think that we all should have. Getting Kate to Congress, Jamie to Congress, like those things are all very important. But I think that we also need to put the focus back on these local races, because local government is where the policies are made or the policies are implemented and administered by folks like the New York in a way that really affects your everyday life.
Right.
And so, much like you need a diverse office to serve a diverse county, you need office holders that reflect the county's values. And I think that we've been seeing through each cycle that Democratic values seem to be much more aligned with Hamilton County than they used to be. And so, if you believe in things like fair housing and making sure that people are staying in their homes and good customer service at an office that you can hire everybody you went to high school with. These are things that we need to focus on. And so, campaigning has been very different. I don't know how I feel about not working in great, to be honest, it's not the worst. But I do miss getting out there and talking to people face to face and being able to spread this message. Because I think the worry is that you end up in this time talking to the same people, right? And it's the best we can do. And so all we can really do is hope that these people who are in all of our Democratic zones are taking that message as far as they possibly can to their independent friends, to their Republican friends who are fed up. We need to be reliant on folks to do a lot of the work that we ourselves would be able to do otherwise because of the constraints of the virus. And then obviously it's important for us to so that we can get the message out there through digital, through mail if possible.
Right.
We're working for folks up and down the ballot.
No, that's words of wisdom right there. So I actually dropped your website, voteschiller.com, in the comments. But if people want to, well, first of all, if you all could, anybody watching this could share this post to various, I shared it to some of the various groups around the political oriented groups, but please share this to your page. Share it to the various Facebook groups, whatever they may be that are relevant in Hamilton County. We would greatly appreciate that to help Jill get the message out. If people want to get involved or get engaged on your campaign, can they go on your website and sign up to volunteer? There's things that we can do through social media. Maybe we're writing postcards or different things like that that we can do in a safe way to still get engaged on your campaign.
Yes. So you can sign up to volunteer. And I think any work that people can do to help the Hamilton County coordinated campaign as well helps all of us. So if you were engaged in voter registration, I'm thinking maybe out with Sandy Summer, Sandy on Friday, registering people and doing things like that. So any way that anybody watching can engage by registering voters and talking about, especially those of us in the lesser known races. Let people know why these offices affect their lives and how. That would be so useful.
Right.
And of course, if you can donate, $5, $10, $50, that every cent counts. We had a much bigger budget at the beginning of this race than we have now planned for because of everything. So I promise you, we will treat your money with kid gloves. It will go towards very good, very smart purchases of media and starting word of mouth contact.
Well, and we also know, as typically the case, you probably don't want to talk about it, but I will, that, typically on the other team, they have the bigwigs writing big fat checks, and just because that's where the money flows. And here on the grassroots side, it is literally folks, if you can spare $10, a couple of beers worth or whatever, $20, $50, like that goes a long way. In a race like this, like I said, all those things don't buy themselves. So typically that's the case. I'd have to guess it's holding true in this time when we have folks that like to buy seats, and they have the capability of doing that. So we don't want that to happen. So let's get engaged on Jill's campaign. Go on her website, sign up to volunteer, drop a donation if you can. And with that, this time flies so fast. It's been 35 minutes already. We've been chatting, and I could talk about this stuff all day. But any words of wisdom that you could depart and leave us with to kind of send us off in the right direction?
Yeah, get involved any way you can. You know, if we're stuck at home, but we make calls, you can write postcards, you can donate, because you can't buy those beers in a bar. It's much cheaper to buy them at the grocery store. You use the extra cash.
I love it.
Somewhere good.
Perfect. Well, hey, Jill, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, everybody, please go on Jill's website, the Facebook page, find her on Twitter, share those posts. All that stuff is very important. Sharing this as well. For me, at Derek Bauman, everywhere. And then, as always, we'll upload this to my YouTube channel. Derek Bauman on there should crop up. And so we'll have a lovely archive of all of our programs on there. So, Jill, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you out and about on the campaign trail, I'm sure, when we can actually be out there. But most of all, I want to see you in the treasurer's seat here in about, what, 80 elections in 84 days, 85 days, something like that. Awesome. So thank you so much. Everybody, please be safe, be kind and gentle to one another as always. Cincinnati, we love you. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.